Welcome back to Beelzebub the Jag. I'm absolutely thrilled to have the car back. It was delivered on a trailer, on a car transporter from Brighton. It's driving, just, if I put the key in now, it will drive. And it will drive for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then it will splutter and it will shudder, and it will come to a halt. I've given it an awful lot of thought. I've had various people kindly sort of give me advice and suggestions, and I've had a lot of people suggesting, the fuel pump's broken or whatever, but we know the fuel pump is brand new. Here it is. It's a brand new fuel pump. It's been there about 6 weeks. There's the original in the box. I've given it an awful lot of thought, and I'm pretty sure that I'm correct. And I'll explain. It'll take me a couple of minutes to explain. It could only happen. There's only a handful of cars that this problem could possibly happen to. One of them is the Jaguar XJ Series 1, 2 and 3 range, not the later ones, the XJ40s and the X300s. They only had one tank. This car has got two tanks. The fuel tanks, they're hidden in the wings. So it's a long, skinny tank that it's like an L-shaped type thing. It starts up here and it comes down, and you've got one either side, so it gives you rather a large boot space. But obviously I filled my boot with a bloody great big gas tank. But the Jaguar Mark 10, the Jaguar S-Type, and of all things a Lamborghini Espada has twin tanks, and the issue I have with this car could have happened to those. When I bought this car, it was only running on petrol on the left-hand tank and LPG. And I knew that the right-hand tank, for whatever reason, had been disconnected. The gentleman I bought it from didn't know why it had been disconnected. And there was all we had was this fuel hose going straight to the fuel pump. And the other tank simply wasn't connected, and I didn't worry about it too much because I don't drive very far on petrol. You start on petrol, and after about 2 minutes it automatically goes over onto gas. Now about 2 or 3 months ago, I had an issue where I'd started the car in central Brighton. I was running it through central Brighton on petrol, and it takes about 2 minutes before it automatically changes over onto gas, and the car shuddered to a halt and it wouldn't restart, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, oh no, the fuel pump's gone. It just sounded for all the world like the fuel pump was gone, and we opened up the engine bay and tried to sort of crank the engine with the fuel pump turning, and there was no fuel being delivered to the engine bay. We just opened one of the pipes. So we thought, yeah, definitely the fuel pump's burnt out. So I put a new fuel pump on it, and it still didn't work. So then we realised what had happened. And this is what makes these things unique, and some of the Jaguars and Lamborghini Espada. Underneath the wheel arch, there's one under here, and there's one the other side. They have return valves. When an engine, when a pump pressurizes the system and delivers fuel to the engine, it comes through the floor and it arrives at the engine. It's under quite a lot of pressure in the rail, and only a very small percentage of that fuel goes into the fuel injectors and is actually burnt. The vast majority of that fuel simply bypasses the injectors, and it comes all the way back and then under the floor, and then it gets returned back to the tank. More than 95% of it gets returned to the tank, and it has to come back to the tank it's been brought from. On a regular car that's only got one tank, it can only go back to the one tank, so they don't have these valves underneath the wheel arches. One under there, and there's one under here. You can't really see them, but they're right in there. On a car with twin tanks, it has to be returned to the tank it comes from. Imagine if it just chose, if it just didn't pump back to the tank it came from. If both tanks were completely full of fuel, and I was running on the left-hand tank, and it was drawing from the left, burning a little bit, and then returning to the right. The right's already completely full. It would simply overflow and come down the wing, and that does happen on these things when one of those valves fails and it returns the fuel to the wrong tank. Obviously, if it's running on the left-hand tank, drawing it from the left, burning a little bit and returning to the left, it won't overflow. So that's what had happened. One of these, a couple of weeks ago in Brighton, one of these sensors had failed and it was returning the fuel to the wrong tank. So I accepted that. I thought, right, I don't mind which tank this car runs on, left, right, or both at the same time. It's not a problem to me. So what I did a few weeks ago, I fitted this. This is the right-hand tank, this is the left-hand tank, and then that delivers straight to the fuel pump. So basically this car has always got about half tank of left and half in the right, and it feeds both together. And you quite often notice when you're driving along, the needle's actually going up rather than down, because it's what it's doing. It's pumping the fuel from one tank into the other. So one becomes drained and one becomes full. And it doesn't matter because I'm driving on LPG. But the petrol's still being circulated. The pump's still running all the time. It's still delivering fuel to the engine. It's just not burning it. The injectors are simply not opening. So it's bypassing, and 100% is being returned to the tank. Now, I think those of you that have thought this through will know exactly where this is leading. What has been happening as I've been driving along on petrol the other night, because I couldn't get any gas over the weekend, bank holiday weekend. LPG was sold everywhere, so I was going to do the journey on petrol. I only had half a tank. Actually, it was a third of a tank in each, and after about 20 minutes, the left-hand tank had all pumped into the right-hand tank, and I was running off the right-hand tank only. So the fuel was being delivered to the fuel pump, and this one was totally bone dry. And because the fuel pump was sucking, it was sucking fresh air in here. So it was like 50% air, 50% fuel. And of course, the car was spluttering and shuddering. I had absolutely no chance whatsoever. And that's what caused it to stop. And it just cut out, and as if it had run out of petrol. But my needle was showing 2/3 of a tank, so I knew I hadn't run out of petrol. But I was blaming the fuel injection. I was saying the fuel injection must have failed. I was saying, I know that we've got a brand new fuel filter down there. We've got a brand new fuel pump. Those of you that follow regularly will have watched me rebuild the fuel injectors and all of. It had a huge amount done in the engine bay. So I was really scratching around wondering what it could be. And I was thinking it must be the engine management. And I'm saying, no, it can't be the engine management because it runs so beautifully on LPG. And I was saying, well, it must be the electronic management. There must be the injection system has some kind of management. It must be that. But no, it's not. I'm completely wrong. I've been blaming the engine, the fuel injection management. It's not. It's purely because I've connected the two together. There's supposed to be a changeover switch. There's little holes just down here, look, just underneath where the changeover switch fits, and this is the actual electric connections for the changeover. And I haven't bought the switch yet, and it's a job I will do. So obviously when it's sort of the changeover switch, you've got right or left. If one of them's totally empty, it switches off. You can't draw air in, and that's all this is. It's been drawing air into the system because I fiddle with the damn thing and put that bloody that Y pipe in there. So. The car, it's not the car's fault. It's, it is what it is. I fiddled with it, and I got it running a couple of months ago, and then sort of paid the price the other night. But the simple reason I haven't yet changed the connector here, and I'm more concerned about the underneath here. It's in the wheel arch, and the fuel pipes are steel, and they get covered in silt and salt, and I'm very concerned about trying to undo the valve without breaking the hose, not the hose, the metal pipes. I'm pretty sure at least one, if not both, of the pipes will shear or break. I can't imagine that on 40-year-old pipes I'll be able to get them loose without breaking it. So the intention is to replace the whole sort of literally from the boot right the way back here. Replace all these pipes. There's a metal pipe there that'll get changed. Everything that's underfloor. I want to put brand new pipes in. At that point, I was going to put in the new valves, and there's three of them. There's a changeover valve, and then there's the return valve left, return valve right, and they're about £65-70 each. And and then change all of the pipes as well. So it's a job I hadn't got around to doing, and I would have done that over the coming weeks when the car comes off the road to have the bodywork, because I want to strip all the underside, scrape all the old understeel off, paint it, put it, the modern rubberized underseel, and put brand new brake pipes and brand new steel, not steel, copper or brass brake and fuel pipes. And at that point I would have gone and replaced these valves, but I got caught out before. Had I been able to continue to drive on LPG, this problem would have never arisen. It's just one of those bizarre quirks of these type of cars with twin tanks. It can only happen to a car with twin tanks, and there's only a handful of those. Like I say, a few Jags, definitely Lamborghini Espada, and I'm sure one or two of you will sort of remind me or advise me of those other cars that they're actually quite rare to have a car with twin tanks, and it's a complicated setup, and it caused me immense aggro the other night. But I've got it back, and I know there's no real issue with the car. I've just got to sort them bloody valves out, and it'll all be fine.